Are you excited?
Yes, I get to talk
Well,
about patents.
I know you are so good at that too. You're so into it and you make it fun.
I I was the child who would take things apart for fun as a kid, just to try and figure out how they worked. So patents are like a grown-up version of the way things work books, and that's just really cool to me.
Mm,
Um, so yeah,
mm,
I mean, at least the older ones. The newer
mhm,
ones are half of them are just way over my head due to the level of technology that they require.
mhm.
But the older ones, those are really cool because you get to see exactly how certain things functioned and how people's minds work. So that's just a really cool aspect of patents. Plus, it's really cool to look and see like the patents behind it, everyday things that you have in your life.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know if I've ever told you, but there's a patent behind my eyeglasses tint. Um,
Okay.
yeah, because it's a medical tent for migraines, and so the University of Utah actually owns the patent behind it.
Hmm.
So they did all the studies behind figuring out what's the best colors to help prevent eye strain. And they figured out that this certain tint of like a boysenberry is really good at preventing eye strain. It's almost more effective than like a lot of the um, blue screen like
Mm.
filters that people put on glasses. It's just not as popular because, well, you wear rose tinted glasses, and that is quite a big investment
Yeah.
to do.
And we know what they say about people wearing rose-colored glasses.
Hmm.
So, oh,
They're such a joy to be around.
yes, yes. But that's interesting about the studies and all of that that goes behind just these glasses that we see, that I see right now
Hmm.
that I'm looking at, and that there's so much behind why that color is what it is.
Well, and they wouldn't have been able to get a patent otherwise because you can't just go and say, "Oh, I think I'm going to make my glasses blue and have the glasses tint blue, and I want to get that patented." You have to have at least some sort of proof that there's a reason that this is novel, that this is useful, because for a patent to be granted, it has to be useful. It has to have some sort of use. I mean, that use can be it entertains a child. That use could be it's a scary face on a Halloween mask, but it does have to have a use. And so you have to be able to argue in front of a court that it has a use. And that's why you typically want to have a lawyer involved when you are applying for a patent. Because you can go without a lawyer, but part of what the patent does is it argues the case for you, but then the patent examiners are going to go in and they're going to be like, well, we don't think that claim number one actually argues enough for you. And so then your lawyer will either go in, or you, if you don't have a lawyer, will have to go in and give basically a rebuttal and say, no, I did the scientific study, or this is why this is such a very unique thing compared to all of these other inventions that have been created. And so that's part of the patent examining procedures. And
Wow.
that's part of the reason why a lot of patents get denied is you go in and you're like, well, this sponge is unique because, like you think about the Scrub Daddy sponge. I don't know if they've got a patent or not. But I can imagine that if they got a patent, part of their examining procedure would be them saying, well, the reason why we should get a patent is because the shape of it is used for cleaning all of these different parts. If you remember watching their commercials or their infomercials.
Mhm.
Um, and so that's why we should get a patent over just a normal round sponge. So,
Oh, that is fascinating, Anne. That is so cool. I never thought about patents like that.
But yeah, that's just a little teeny bit of how the patent processing process works. And part of why I find it so fascinating is because there's all these little teeny tiny little details just embedded in the entire process that no one ever thinks about, but it's part of why we have it and part of why it works. It's to make sure that we have innovation, that we encourage people to innovate and to think and to make more things and more unique things, so that the people who make the Scrub Daddy sponges of the world, not affiliated, we're the state library, continue to make those kinds of innovations. They think, yeah, we've got something new and unique. We want to protect that so that we can sell it for 20 years with no imitators. And the government will help us protect that. And I think that's really cool, because otherwise, maybe you wouldn't want to create something new and unique if you think, oh, well, I share it and 18 different copies are going to be out there. And I mean, you do get that, but that's why, part of getting your patent is that custom officials will be on the lookout for people on the border bringing in counterfeits.
Welcome to our webinar today. I'm glad you could join us. My name is Paige Bredenkamp. I am the e-resources and school library consultant at the Wyoming State Library. Joining me today is Anne Kuipers, State Documents Librarian at the Wyoming State Library. Anne is going to share about the Wyoming Inventors digital collection. She'll show us how to navigate the collection while giving us a tour of early Wyoming patents, including one by Buffalo Bill Cody. Before I turn it over to Anne, I want to say that this presentation is being recorded and will be available on the Wyoming State Library YouTube channel. A link will also be sent directly to everyone who registered. And if you have any questions, please type them into the chat or save them for the Q&A at the end. And now here's Anne to share the history of innovation in Wyoming.
Thank you, Paige, for that lovely welcome. And just as another one of my duties, I'm also the Patent and Trademark Librarian for the state of Wyoming, which means that I work with the USPTO, so the United States Patent and Trademark Office, to provide patent and trademark resources to everyone who needs assistance in navigating the patent and trademark application process. And if you want to know anything more about intellectual property rights in the United States. So I'm going to quick share my screen so that we can learn more about the Inventors database. So we're going to be starting off today on the Wyoming State Library website. So this is library.wyo.gov. And this is a good landing page to access the digital collections. There's going to be two ways you can access this from our front page, our homepage here on library.wyo.gov. You can either scroll down and we've got our digital collections suite right here on the front page. And the Inventors database is going to be right here in the middle bottom. And you can just visit the website. Otherwise, you can go up to the top. And on the drop down under collections, there's going to be the WSL Digital Collection Suite. You can click that. And then again, it's going to be on the bottom middle, and you can just visit the website there. Here, we're going to enter into the homepage of the Inventors database, and that's going to be at inventors.wyo.gov. And you've got a lovely homepage here. You can enter into the database by clicking here to search or browse Wyoming Inventors. But you can also go navigate home, about, links, search help, and some Inventors facts up on top. But we're going to currently go straight into the Inventors database right here. As we enter into the database, you notice that it's going to have a cookie policy right down here. You can learn more about that. We're just going to accept the cookies today. And then it's going to have a landing page where we're going to have on the left side, it's automatically going to be into the filters. We're not going to start with the filters. That's really useful if you know exactly what you're looking for. So if you know the exact patent number or the inventor that you're looking for. As we're going to be looking currently at historic patents, we're going to start going through the browse functions first. So as you see, there's filters, facets, and browse. We're going to move straight directly into browse. There's going to be 3 different sections you can browse by. We're starting off by year because what we're going to start with is looking at the first patent ever issued to someone living in what is now known as the state of Wyoming. So as we start off browsing all by year, you can see that the first invention ever patented in the land that is now known as Wyoming was patented in 1867. As we click on there, you can see that automatically we are entered into what is called the list view of patents. So you can see that we've got the title right up on top, and that's where you will click to be able to see the full PDF of the patent. And then we've got some metadata or more information about the patent underneath. So we've got the title, the inventors. In this case, it's going to be Anson Mills. If there's been more than one inventor, they'll list that, the city that the invention was invented in, last name, which will be useful later on when we do last name browse, the patent number, which will be useful if you're going to be looking back for specific patents, or if you're going to be searching for this patent in the USPTO patent database, and then the last name, the year it was invented. If you want to view in a thumbnail view or in a grid view, you can also do that up here in the corner. However, list view is probably the best just as a default for the Inventors database. As we want to go into viewing the PDF, you can go improvement to cartridge belt, so you just click on the title. So as you can see, we've got a full PDF here. Then on the right, we've got the metadata. So same information that we went through previously when we were in list view. Up on the top right-hand side, we've got 3 dots in a triangle format. That's how you can share your document. If you click on that, you've got 3 different types of ways to share your document. You will only want to be using 2 of these. Permanent link, where you can either click on the copy this link to your clipboard, which is the one I'd recommend doing. We'll copy a link that has a link to this page itself, and then a source link, which will allow you to copy a link to just the PDF. Then you can also download your document through the downward facing arrow here. I would suggest using download document as PDF. Download document without downloading as a PDF may download additional things outside of just the PDF itself. Sometimes our documents have things like thumbnails attached to it, and you might accidentally download that as well. And then you can also download the metadata, usually in a text format. Then you can also print the PDF. That will print all pages. If you print as document, if you print document area, that will only print the page that you currently have open. And then you can also email the document to yourself. It will pop up a pop-up where you can put in your email. You'll have to click attach file if you want to have the file attached. Otherwise, it will automatically just send the metadata, which may or may not be useful depending on what you're doing. Then you can also detach so that it detaches into its own web page. And then you can also create citations. I would not recommend using create citations with this database in particular. Other databases in our digital collection, create citations might be a better use. However, with this one, since we are only holding this information, we are not the creators of any of the patents, the citations created will not be correct. All patents are created and held by the USPTO, so the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and all citations will need to reference them. So, why don't we get into the first patent ever patented in Wyoming? This patent for a cartridge belt was patented by Anson Mills, a U.S. Army officer, surveyor, inventor, and entrepreneur who was serving at Fort Bridger while on Wyoming land. Officially, the patent will say that he was in Utah because he was currently in the Utah Territory. However, we consider this the first Wyoming patent because he was technically on what is now known as Wyoming, the state of Wyoming. A really interesting fact about Anson Mills is that he made a fortune off of this patent. However, he didn't actually make any money until he moved out of the state and moved into Texas. One of the really cool things about him is that he surveyed and laid out the original plans for El Paso, Texas. His work can still be seen today in the downtown historic district. So it's really fascinating to be able to see what he created here. And if you look at this patent in particular, you can tell that this is a utility patent because this is a patent on how something functions. So this is looking at how this belt is in particular made and put together, not just on how it looks. So to exit out of a patent in the patent database, you just click the big red X in the corner, or you can push the close down at the right-hand corner. Now, to clear out of a search or a patent section that you've gone into, you can either go back to Browse All, or you can push the big red X in the corner. That will clear out all of the search functions that you've already gone through. So the next way we're going to look on how you can go through patents in the database is by last name. So one of the things you'll notice here is that we've got it just alphabetical. So you can search by the first letter of the alphabet. So we're going to go look in W because, even though there's a lot of different letters, W for some reason seems to have a lot of them. And we've got quite a few of different names with, some very fascinating things. But I know one that was given to someone in 1905, and there's only one patent issued to this person with this last name. And their last name's kind of fascinating. It's either pronounced Wittich or Witch. It's hard to tell which one it is. And I am going to make a lot of random puns on this unintentionally. But this is a very fascinating patent. It is a design patent for a chair. So design patents are patents based on how something looks. So a utility patent, like the patent for the cartridge belt that Anson Mills received, is on how something functions. A design patent, on the other hand, is only for how something looks. A chair, for instance, in this case, is not anything new. We've been sitting down on chairs for eons. And usually, unless there's something very unique in how lumbar support in a modern chair is made, there's not very much innovation in it. However, as you can see in the case of the witch chair or Wittich chair, there's a lot that you can do in the case of a design for a chair. And this is an indication of a very early Wyoming design patent. And also a very good example of how to look up someone by their last name. However, there's another way. Excuse me. However, as we said earlier in the presentation, there's a few other people's last names that are a little bit more common than Wittich that we're going to look up today. So we're going to be looking at for Buffalo Bill Cody's only patent. So as we go through C, we can go down and see that there are two different patents issued to someone with the last name of Cody. We can see that one was issued in 1996 and thus obviously wasn't for Buffalo Bill Cody's. And then we can see that this one issued to a William F. Cody in 1916 might be Buffalo Bill Cody's. If we look a little bit closer, you can see that it was issued to William F. Cody of Cody, Wyoming, and was assigned to North and Judd Manufacturing Company of New Britain, Connecticut, a corporation of Connecticut. If you do a little bit more digging, you can find out that North and Judd Manufacturing Company was owned by Buffalo Bill Cody's very close friends. This is actually Buffalo Bill Cody's only patent that he received. This application was filed in August of 1916, a while after Buffalo Bill Cody was forced to sell his Wild West show at auction. It was granted in November 28th, 1916. Buffalo Bill Cody then died in January 10th, 1917, shortly after he received this. However, if you do want to see a copy of this patent, or rephrase, a prototype of this patent, you can go to the Buffalo Bill Historical Center in Cody, which owns two examples of this patent. This patent is a decorative bit, used for horses, that is designed like a pistol. I cannot claim to say how comfortable said bit might be for horses to actually have in their mouth, since I assume it would be crosswise in their mouth, judging by how it looks. However, it could be decorative on the side. It's very difficult to tell from what we have in our patent illustrations. And that is also a example of the limitations of patent applications. While we often get a relative, well, patents are required to have drawings and claims describing how a patent looks or functions, they don't always include everything, especially when you're looking at historical patents like these, which have even less information than a modern patent is required to have. Modern patents have quite a bit more information in them. So if you're looking in the database, just keep in mind that all patents prior to about the 1960s will have a lot less information than any modern patents will. The patent office went through about 2 to 3 different changes of patent requirements for their patents on what they required patent examiners to include and what they required patent registration applications to include as well. The final way that we can, so moving on, the final way that we can examine or browse patents is by city. Now, this is really useful if you're looking for a patent that was patented in your hometown, or if you know where an ancestor or a family member has lived and you know that they had a patent at some point. But this is also really fun if you're wanting to look through maybe a ghost town or two, or a town that no longer exists, to see if maybe something was patented here or there. So we're going to look at a town that doesn't quite really exist outside of maybe a census district anymore, and that's going to be Inventor, Wyoming. Inventor, Wyoming has 4 different patents to its name, and one of the cool things I'm just going to show you really quick about the patent database: when there's more than one patent in a category, you can look through them by using the arrow keys up here. Now, all of the patents issued in Inventor, Wyoming are issued to J.L. Torrey. Colonel J.L. Torrey was not only a state legislature and a Speaker of the House, he also was a colonel during the Spanish-American War. He organized the 2nd U.S. Volunteer Cavalry of Rough Riders to fight. You might have heard of Theodore Roosevelt's Rough Riders. However, J.L. Torrey's Rough Riders never did actually make it to fight in the Spanish-American War. They managed to make it about halfway down to Florida before their train derailed, and they unfortunately were postponed in their deployment until after the war had ended. Now, if we want to look at a few of the different patents that J.L. Torrey was issued, you can see that he definitely had horses and cattle on his mind. So he received a patent for a branding iron in an M bar pattern. Then he also received, this is the odd one out, a design patent for a spoon. And then a saddle blanket and a self-adjusting horse collar. One of the fascinating things about J.L. Torrey is that he and his brothers actually formed the town of Inventor. They were the creators of it, and if you want to learn anything more about Inventor, Wyoming, you can check out the Places database, which is another database that we have through our Digital Collections suite. So now that we've gone through the basis of how to use the browse categories, we're going to go back and do a little bit of learning about how to use the different filters. So often people's first impulse is to go up and do a search in the big bar. So if we're going to do a search for poison up here, we're going to see that we have received 18 different responses. But those responses include things like methods for producing advanced carbon materials from coal, and also, let's see, storm drain grate and filter apparatus and method from 2023, which, although probably very interesting to look through and learn more about what people are doing and innovating in Wyoming, might not be the most interesting when you're just wanting to know if there's anything relating to actual poison in our collection. So we're going to clear that out, and we're going to see maybe someone did something that was actually poison related and put it in their title. One thing to remember with patent titles is that they're going to be very descriptive, but also very simple at the same time. So you're going to have things that are going to be like, saddle blanket, or in the case of this one, designed for a poison bottle. If you look at this, in 1908, patent designed for a poison bottle, you can tell that this is very much a design patent for a poison bottle. For what says poison more than a rattlesnake? It's obviously something that you're going to use if you're going to poison people. Why be, circumspect? You're definitely going to be very ornamental and very in your face. So obviously that's what you're going to do. However, there's also a few other things that you're going to want to remember when you're using this as well. So for instance, we typically try and put in the name that is on the patent. So for instance, if we do J.L. Torrey, we're going to get all 4 of his patents. But if for say one of his patents had his full middle name spelled out, and you put in his full spelled out middle name, you'd only get that single patent with his full spelled out middle name in it. So we're also going to be going through how facets work with this example, because you can use facets to narrow your search. So for instance, there's only one Torrey in our search for J.L. Torrey, obviously. However, there was 3 different years that J.L. Torrey had patents issued to him. So we can choose to only see the patents issued to him in 1894. And that way we can just see the 2 patents issued to him in 1984. Then you can X out and then only see, and then you can widen the search to see all 4 of his patents. You can also choose to see only the patents issued in 1896. And then you can just see that one. If you want to see all of the patents issued in 1896, you can X out your search for J.L. Torrey, and then you can see that there were 16 patents issued in 1896, including things like this apparatus for preventing sinking of ships and for raising of sunken vessels, of which you can see is a weighted or a aerial balloon. And as we X that out, you can use any of the searches that you used in browse in the filter search as well. Last name, city, inventors, and then you have find a patent number as well. So does anyone have any questions or concerns? Otherwise, I think we're about ready to wrap this up.
All right, well, I see a couple of comments in the chat, Anne. That is awesome, and this is so cool. So definitely some enthusiasm for what you're sharing with us. And I have got to agree with whoever typed that into the chat that that poison bottle was amazing. Why don't we see more bottles like that? I mean, yeah, who needs the skull and crossbones when you have a rattlesnake? So, but no, this is very fascinating and very clearly showing us how to access this this database for inventors from Wyoming. And I don't think we have heard enough about that. So this is really great. Thank you.
Yeah, and I can definitely go on, and if anyone wants to hear more, I can do individual consultations if people need assistance in research.
Okay, excellent. Well, with that, I don't think we have any more questions. This is being recorded and will be shared on the Wyoming State Library YouTube channel. And other than that, join us back here again for our next webinar and stay tuned for more information about that. And thank you, Anne, from the Wyoming State Library for sharing all of this valuable information. And hope to see you all soon.
Mhm.